I'm sure a lot of you can name plenty of huge gaming flops in recent years. Concord, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, Skull and Bones, Babylon's Fall, and now the most recent game that people think will flop is Highguard. But this video isn't about Highguard. Instead, I want to talk to you about a series of colossal live service failures that I think everyone has forgotten about, the Culling franchise and its studio, Xaviant Games. The Culling, launched all the way back in 2016 into Steam Early Access, is a battle royale game that actually predates PUBG and Fortnite's explosion into popularity. In fact, The Culling was one of the first games that actually popularized the battle royale genre. So if you hated the battle royale craze like I did back in 2017 and 2018, you can blame this game for it. The game itself was a battle royale, but mixed with survival game aspects, and it was a modest success, and it actually garnered a dedicated fanbase to it because people really liked the combination. But of course, a decade later in 2026, the Culling franchise isn't a household name, and almost no one's ever heard of it. So what happened? Well, the studio, Xaviant Games, killed their golden goose. The post-launch support for the Culling was abysmal, and no, it wasn't a lack of support. It was more like they were sabotaging their own game for some reason. The updates to the game were terrible, and in fact were actually ruining the game that people were already enjoying. It also didn't help that by this point, PUBG and Fortnite were now taking off in popularity, and they just did the whole battle royale shtick better than the Culling. The Steam charts show everything. The player count falls off a cliff, and while there are a couple of signs of life here and there, the game would eventually fall under 100 players, and it would stay that way even when the game officially released into 1.0 in 2017. This was as dead as a live service as you can get. Except it's not. It gets even worse. The Culling 2, its sequel, was released on July 10th, 2018, so around a year after the first Culling. And yes, this game was rushed to release. I mean, you could probably tell just by looking at it, right? Xaviant during this time was desperate to capture some of the success that PUBG and Fortnite now had, since these games were at the peak of their popularity. So what did they do? They just copied PUBG's and Fortnite's gameplay, took out the survival aspect that the first game had, you know, the part that people actually liked in the first game, and just packaged it all together and shipped it. But again, this game just looks god-awful for its time. These are some early 2010s graphics, but it's in 2018. It should be no surprise that this game failed. But just how badly? See for yourself. 249 players at its peak, and the player count was so paltry that you can't even see how many players were on since it launched. It's that little. That's because this game died within hours. Its player count fell off harder than Ubisoft. Within a single day, this game was down to a single player, Moist Critical. The Culling 2 was the first massive flop. It was a trendsetter on how to make a dead-on-arrival live service. This game was a Concord-level disaster before Concord even existed. The game, of course, was shut down shortly thereafter and taken off storefronts, and refunds were given out to whoever it was that didn't get a refund for some reason. Now, you'd think that this embarrassing disaster would be the end of the Culling franchise, but it's not. Okay, now, you're gonna have to stay with me here because this is where things get crazy and a little confusing. So, Xaviant decided to go back to the first Culling, re-release it as the Culling Origins on September 14th, 2018, just months after the Culling 2 failed, by the way, but they made the game free to play and reverted the game to essentially how it was in early access before all of their updates that people felt ruined the game. But it didn't work, because the same people that were there in the first game have long moved on to other games, and there were just better and newer games that people could play instead of a re-release of a game from 2016. The game was pulled from storefronts in March 2019, and the servers were finally shut down in May 2019. But it's not over yet. We're getting to the best part, baby. Okay, so out of nowhere on May 12th, 2020, a whole year later, they re-released the Culling Origins again, except it's only on Xbox, but with what is still to this day the most ludicrous and downright insane monetization scheme I have ever seen in my life. The Culling Origins would now cost $6, so it's not free to play anymore, but this time, you now have to essentially pay per match. They announced that you would get one free match token a day that would be spent to get into matches, and if you wanted to play more matches, you would then have to buy a pack of match tokens for real money. Don't worry though, they were generous enough to refund your match token if you were to win the match. But this is a battle royale, and there could only be 1 or 2 winners out of 16 players. You practically have no chance of getting that token back. And if you want more value, don't worry, there was a pass you can purchase that allowed you to have unlimited matches for a week or a month depending on which one you buy. Think of the savings!
This sounds like a scam.
I cannot put into words how dumb this system is. You gotta purchase the game, and then you have to pay again in order to play it? They did bump up the free match tokens to 10 per day, but why not just remove this scam of a monetization model instead? Because Xaviant was, for some reason, convinced that this model was not only fair, but that it's the only way for this game to survive. The only thing they regretted was the messaging. They thought the problem was how they announced it. They even said in the same breath that the premium pass is reasonably priced. Dude, you need to pay the exact same price for the premium pass as you did for the game. This was a blatant scam. Reminder that Fortnite is a free and infinitely better game. And this monetization model that they put their faith in, of course didn't work. No one wanted to even be near this game. By November 13th, 2020, the Culling Origins had been shut down, and no one has heard anything from Xaviant Games since. Good riddance. Xaviant Games genuinely thought they were in a simulation and that this was Business Tycoon Simulator or something. They didn't realize that we're not NPCs. We don't exist just to give them money. The tale of the Culling franchise is still the most crazy and most disastrous of even the worst live services, and Xaviant should go down in history as one of the worst game studios ever. How greedy and delusional can you get? How did they even make it this far? Oh my god. But I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. If you learned anything, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.